Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Leo and this is Kingdom Warriors. So this is the third part of the series, of the Boys to Men series, and I've entitled this talk, Friendships Matter. So before we get into the life of David, I wanted to tell you guys a quick story. So sit back, relax, and listen to this. There were two friends, two boys, Tyrone and Shane. And these guys grew up in the same area. It was kind of a rough neighborhood and both were from single parent homes. These guys, they used to play outside on their bikes together. They used to go to the park together. They used to do so many things together. And the parents, they were really good friends. They used to go to each other's houses and drink wine and, just chill and have a really good time. These guys, they grew up together. And they even went to the same secondary school together. But when they got to around 15, I would say in about year 11, that's when they both started to experiment in smoking weed. And they were enjoying that actually. They used to smoke weed, they used to go to school, they used to go to parks and chill out and, things were good. Life was okay at that time. But the time came for GCSEs. And Tyrone, he was the guy that was, he was doing well at school. He was one of those guys that didn't really need to do much. He could kind of coast through, and when the GCSEs came around and it was time to do his exams, he did so well. I mean, he did really well. He did okay. He just about got enough to get himself into college. But Shane, he was quite deep into the weed and deep into the smoking. And he didn't really get anything from school. He left actually with school with no grades. So he decided, he made a choice, I'm gonna go on the street. I'm gonna start to hustle, I'm gonna start to deal drugs and get involved in that side of things. But Tyrone, he decided, I'm gonna go college. I'm gonna study and try to pursue a career. So things were moving different for both of these boys. You had Shane on one hand who was on the streets and he was learning things on the street and dealing drugs and becoming very popular with loads of people, had many friends and the girls liked him and he had the car and all these things going on, the chain and everything. He was enjoying that life. And then you had kind of Tyrone who was, studying and doing well, wasn't really smoking weed anymore, but, he was doing well. And they got to around 18 years old, and this was the time where there would be like a make or break time because Tyrone was getting involved in doing his A-levels and he actually did okay. He just about scraped through and was accepted into a university. This was great. Shane, on the other hand, things had got big for him in the drug scene and on the streets, and he had a name for himself. But one day, Shane got a call on his mobile. So he picks up the phone, he's like, yo. And he gets the guy on the other end, says, yo, it's Mikey. He goes, oh yeah, what are you saying, Mikey? He's like, yeah, listen, bruv, can you bring me something? He's like, yeah, cool, where you looking? So he tells him what he wants, and he's like, right, I'll be there shortly. So he puts the phone down, and then he jumps in his car, and he drives to the flat. And when he gets to the flat, he buzzes on the door and he's like, eh. And Mikey says, yo, who's that? He's like, it's me, fam. He's like, oh, cool, come through, come in. So the door opens. He opens the door. As Shane walks through the door, bam, he gets hit over the head. Shane drops to the floor and he's knocked out. Next thing you know, after a little while, he wakes up. And his hands are tied up in the back of a car. And he looks around his car and he's like, this is my car. And he sees two guys at the front. Now one of them is holding a gun. And the other one is there. And they turn around to him and they say, listen, don't say a word. Shane says, listen, I know what you want. Just drive to my yard, to my house, and I'll give you guys what you want. So they drive to his flat where his mum lives and they go in and Shane still has his hands tied up and the boys take him to the flat and they go in and he gets them what they want and they're just about to leave. When all of a sudden, Shane's mum comes running out and she starts to scream, ah! The boys panic and one of the boys, he lets off a shot with a gun. Shane's mum drops to the floor. The boys look and they're like, whoa, and they run out of the house. The neighbor next door, he hears the noise and he comes running through. He sees Shane, he unties Shane and he sees his mum and he picks him up and he puts them both in the car and he drives to the hospital. They get to the hospital, the mum's admitted to the casualty ward and Shane is pacing around and he's thinking, what is going on? Shane gets his mobile phone, he phones up Ty. He's like, Ty, listen, some madness has happened. Man's moved to me and took my things and my mum, now my mum's in hospital. Then man shot my mum. Ty's like, wait, calm down, listen, are you okay? Is your mum okay? And she's like, listen, don't worry, I'm gonna deal with this. Ty's like, don't do anything stupid, but before he could say that, Shane had already put down the phone. A couple of hours passed by and the doctor came out and he talked to Shane and he said, listen, your mum's okay. She got hit in the shoulder. We're gonna bandage her up, we're gonna just keep her overnight, but we'll let her go in the morning. Shane was relieved, but he had revenge in his heart. The next day now, Tyrone, he gets a call on his phone. Ty's like, yo, it's Tyrone's cousin. It's cousin Jerome. And he's like, yo, cuz, it's Jerome. He's like, oh, what are you saying, cuz, you good? He's like, yeah, listen, I got myself a new car, you know? I got a new car, a little Audi. And listen, I got some weed as well. So if you know anyone that wants anything, just let me know. Ty starts to think. He's putting 2 and 2 together. He's thinking, wait a second. Surely my cousin wasn't the one that robbed my best friend last night. But he thinks it could be. So Jerome says, okay, listen fam, I've got to go, right? But I'll see you soon, yeah? Ty's like, okay, cool. But listen, where are you now? He's like, yeah, I'm at yard. He's like, all right, cool, wait there, I'm gonna come round. So they put the phones down and Ty makes his way round to Jerome's house, his cousin, and they have a chat about things and they're talking about these things and basically, Jerome kind of agrees to give back what he took because he didn't realize that it was Ty's best friend. He didn't realize that. But in the background, Shane is mad. He's basically, he wants revenge. So what happens is this. He's found out where these guys live. Somehow, some way he's found out. So he's got another car now and he's bought himself a gun. And what he's doing now, he's driving and making his way to Jerome's house. Not knowing that Ty is in the house also. And it's getting kind of dark now. And it starts to rain and Ty and his cousin Jerome, they leave the house. But because it's raining, they put their hoods up. And they put their hoods up and they're walking out of the house. But unknowingly, Shane is driving down the road. And he drives down and he sees 2 guys walking out of the house. He thinks these are the guys that robbed me last night. It's time for my revenge. So he winds down his window and he drives by and he says, yo, remember me? And he points his hand out the window. Pop, 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 pop. 2 bodies drop to the floor. I mean, they drop to the floor. Shane, he scurs off, he goes off, he drives off, not knowing what's happened. Jerome's mum comes running out the house, she starts to scream, ah, my boys, somebody help, somebody phone an ambulance. They phone the ambulance comes, but both boys are DOA, dead on arrival. The next day, Shane, he's watching the news. He's sitting at home watching the news. And he sees something appear where it says 2 guys have been gunned down. And he sees 2 pictures come up on the news. And he looks and he sees his friend. He sees Tyrone. And he sees his cousin Jerome and he says, no, surely not. Shane has killed his best friend and his best friend's cousin. He is so distraught. He is beyond himself. He's thinking, what have I done? And he ponders on this thing for 2 to 3 days, not knowing, no one's seen this guy. No one knows what's going on. Then finally, he thinks to himself, for Tyrone, I've got to hand myself in. I can't live with this anymore. He goes to the police station and he hands himself in. He ends up going to court and he's charged for double murder and ends up spending most of his life in jail. It's a deep story, I know. It's a deep story. And we hear about things like this that happen right now in our society. We're hearing about these things. And it was important that I told you a story like that so you understand that it was something like friendships that had a cost to human life. Because Shane, throughout the years, had made many, many different friends. And he hadn't really checked who those friends were. And this one friend that he thought was a friend had set him up. And it had a ripple effect that will cause so much hurt, so much heartache for him and for the family as well. That's why friendships matter. And if we look now at the life of David, once again, and we go to the book of 1 Samuel and we look at chapter 18, we pick it now up from chapter 18, we see there that we're introduced to one of David's friends, Jonathan. Now, Jonathan is the son of King Saul. And it says there that once Jonathan and David met, it says that their souls were knitted together. That he loved David very much. You know, they were like, from that moment, an instant connection. You know, there's some people that you meet, right? Where you just have that instant connection. I've met many people over my time of my life, where I've just had an instant connection. I'm like, this guy, he's a friend for life. And that's how it was with Jonathan and David. So much so that Jonathan gave him his robe, he gave him his armor, he gave him his sword, his bow, and his belt. I mean, this guy gave everything that he was wearing. I'm surprised the guy weren't naked. You know, like if we met a friend, right? And we like this guy so much, you say, okay, here's my jacket, bro. And here's my t-shirt, bro. And here's my trainers, here's my 110-pound Nike Air trainers. And you're like, no. I'm not giving my trainers to my guy. I love him, but not that much. And I get that. But this guy loved him enough to give him his robe and his armor and his sword and his bow and his belt. That's real friendship love right there. But then there was another friend that David had. And this friend, you know who it is. This was King Saul. Because in the last video, I told you how it said that David was loved very much by King Saul. So they were friends. Saul was actually treated him like a son as well. So they were like a friend-son kind of relationship. But something happened. Something happened in the heart of King Saul. Because in 1 Samuel chapter 18, David had just come back from defeating the Philistines, defeating Goliath. And he's come back and he's walking through. And as he's walking through the town, you get all these women that are coming out. And these women are coming out with instruments and they're singing a song to this guy. They're singing a song, they're saying, Saul has slain his 1,000, but David has slain his 10,000s. You know, can you imagine that? Imagine you, right? You just come back and you just won an athletics tournament. And you guys have just come back and you're coming back and you're walking down your street. And all of a sudden, all the girls come out of their houses. And they start singing you a song. Can you imagine? They're like, oh, this guy lost, but this guy won, and he's the man, and he's the man. You guys will be gassed. I mean, you guys will be so amped up, like, whoa, this is like, yeah, I'm the man right now. Can you imagine that? Well, this is what happened to David, but I don't think he was boastful in that way. I think he was just like really kind of, oh, okay, in awe of the whole situation. But King Saul heard about that. He heard about it and he was jealous. It says there was jealousy in his heart. And he was thinking, they're singing about David, but not about me. Now it became all about self, all about me, all about him. That's all it became about. And it says from that moment, David would become King Saul's enemy. I mean, this is bad. He's gone from being a friend to an enemy. And he was setting up some plans. He was like, how can I get rid of this guy quick? And he was thinking, okay, what I can do is this. I can give him my daughter as a bride, Michal. I'll give him as a bride, but what I'll do, I'll send him to war, and hopefully before he gets to that stage, he'll get killed. So one of the people in the palace had spoken to David and said, listen, you can have the bride, the daughter of King Saul. And David's thinking, wait, but who am I to now be the son-in-law of a king? But he said, no, it's all good. All you need to do is go and kill 200 Philistines and bring back 200 foreskins. Yep, you heard right. The Bible says it there. Read it in 1 Samuel chapter 18. Bring back 200 foreskins. So David is like, okay, that sounds good. That's reasonable. So he goes and fights and he brings back 200 foreskins back to King Saul. And King Saul agrees that he can marry Michal. But the plan kind of backfired because David was a man of war, and wherever he went, the Lord was with him. You can read it there. The Lord was with him. David's two friendships. One that was like a brother, which is Jonathan, and the other which went wrong, who would now be an enemy of King Saul. The Bible tells us about friends. In 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33, it says there, bad company corrupts good character. And in Proverbs chapter 13, verse 20, it says there that whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but a companion of fools will suffer harm. You can kind of figure things out from those verses. But I want to bring to you today, really, on this video, to let you know that there are some things from the life of David, from his friendships, that we can learn about that will help you in your friendships and choosing the right friendship groups. So I'm going to give you a few points for you guys to take away. And the first point is this. True friends have your back at all times. Now you're thinking, yes, my friends have got my back. If I get into beef, they've got me. And we'll deal with this guy. That's not the backup I'm talking about. That's not the kind of saying friends have got my back. It's not the violent way I'm talking about. I'm saying that this Jonathan guy, he was a guy who had David's back. He kind of went against his father for him. Now, I'm not saying go against your parents for your friends. I'm just letting you know this is an example to say that Jonathan had heard something from his father. He had heard in 1 Samuel chapter 19 that King Saul had told his messengers and Jonathan to go to his house where Michal was as well, his daughter, and to kill David. Jonathan heard this and went straight to David and let him know what was planned. He had his back. We also read in 1 Samuel chapter 20 where, David has kind of run off now because he has to leave because Saul is after him, relentlessly pursuing his death. But they're in a field at this moment in chapter 20 where Jonathan and David are speaking about a plan to figure out if King Saul is still mad with David. And they figure out this plan, and it's about to do with arrows. And Jonathan says, listen, I'm going to go to the new moon feast, and I'm going to check if my dad is still angry with you. But what we'll do is this. If he's still angry with you, I'll come out and I'll fire an arrow. And if the arrows go past where you are, and I say to the boy, go and get the arrows behind you, that means dad's still angry. But if I fire the arrows and they go beside you, and I say to the boy, go to the side over there and get the arrows, then you know everything's good. So they devised this plan. Jonathan and David, I like these guys. They were good friends. They had this plan in place. Jonathan had David's back. He really did. And he was able to give wise advice. Listen to that. Friends around you should be able to give you wise counsel, wise advice. And they should be there for you at all times. You might have friends that you think you're going through a difficult time, but they're just not around for you. Well, maybe you need to assess your friendship groups and see if they are true friends to you or not. I tell you what, there's someone who has got your back, even if you don't know it. God's got your back. In Isaiah chapter 58, verse 8, it says it there. The glory of the Lord is your rear guard. Did you hear that? The glory of the Lord is your rear guard. So what you cannot see, the Lord sees. He surrounds you. He's with you. He's got your back. Whether you think it or not, you're thinking, the Lord's not there with me through the tough things I'm going through. Trust me, He's there. The glory of the Lord is your rear guard. Let me tell you something. You see, true friends, they've always got a shoulder as well for you to cry on. And it's not wrong for a man or a young man or a boy to cry. Listen to me. There's nothing wrong with that. Because sometimes you're going through some things and you need a shoulder to cry on, and true friends are there for you. They have your back. In times of trouble, they will help you in a non-violent way. True friends have your back at all times. The second point is this: true friends have your best interests at heart. True friends have your best interests at heart. They tell you the truth even if it hurts. You know, you could be in a shop with your friend, right? And you could have put on this tracksuit and you put your tracksuit on and this thing looks baggy. I mean, it doesn't fit right. And the one who's not really a friend, he'll be like, oh, that thing's all right. You look good, man. You look good. But the guy goes out and people are looking at him funny thinking, what's this guy wearing, man? This guy, what's this? Oh, my. I mean, no girls are checking this guy. But the true friend, he tells you, listen, bro, that size is not right. Yeah? Try another size on. He's got your best interest at heart. He's got your best interests at heart. Listen to me. There are some things that, you know, your friends will tell you privately. They will tell you things privately that, you know, they haven't told anyone. But let me tell you, even you being a true friend, or whoever the true friend is, you might tell someone something. They have a right to tell someone else, as in an adult that can help you as well. Because if they come to you and say, listen, bro, we should speak to someone about this because we can get you some help. Well, that's important. The true friend that says those things, they have your best interests at heart. They have your well-being at heart. I'm telling you, Jonathan had David's best interests at heart. Although King Saul was relentlessly pursuing the death of David, Jonathan, on the other hand, was relentlessly pursuing the safety of David. He had his best interests at heart. And I love it. It's an example for all of us. And even the Bible tells us in Philippians chapter 2, verse 4, it says, look not only at your own interests, but look to the interests of others. That's what a true friend does. A true friend does that. And the third point is this: true friends have belief in you even when you don't. Does that make sense? Because David, I'm telling you, we're going to look at this in the next video, but David, he would have been on a run. And there would have been times where he's weary and downcast. But in 1 Samuel chapter 23, verse 16 to 17, you see there that Jonathan comes to David. He comes to David and what he does is this. He encourages him. He says to him, don't be afraid. He reminds him of the prophecy that was given to him that said to him, you will be king of Israel. And he reminded him of those things. He put his own life at risk because his father would have killed him if he did that. All for David. Because he believed in David. He believed in what God had said about David, and he encouraged him. That's what you need around you, encouragers. You know, a friend said this in one of his sermons, actually. And he said, you know, surround yourself with eagles and you'll soar. Not pigeons who kind of just look for the scraps. And that's right. Surround yourself with friends who are like eagles that will help you soar and help you soar into manhood as you mature in your walk with Christ. You see Shane, with the Tyrone and Shane story, Shane lacked wisdom. He lacked wisdom in the friends that he had around him and that he knew. And it was costly. There was a consequence to that. And as you guys start to mature, you will understand so much more why friendships matter. True friendships matter. But I'm going to leave you guys with this. There's a friend that you have who I've not even spoken about. And his name is Jesus. And the Bible tells us in John chapter 15, verse 13 to 14, that greater love has no one than this, that he laid down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. No longer do I call you servants, for the servants do not know what the master does. But I have called you friends. To all those watching this, Jesus calls you friend, and he laid down his life for you. I'm telling you, I hope that you guys have been blessed. I hope you understand why friendships matter. True friends have your back at all times. True friends have your best interests at heart. And true friends have belief in you even when you don't. Listen, join me on the next video where we're gonna go into the 4th part of the series. Like, share, subscribe, do your thing, and I'll see you guys soon, yeah? You take care. Bye.